Art is really difficult. It takes years of dedicated practice to develop any type of competence in a given medium, and even longer if you want to find some actual success in the field. So you could bear through all that hard work, or you could just sell your soul to the big man downstairs and watch all those troubles melt away. That was the decision made by a certain Austrian painter. Not that one. Christoph Haizmann was a starving artist from the 17th century. Emphasis on starving. This man probably would have had an easier time selling ice to an Inuit than he had selling his paintings. And so, after years of being called a talentless hack by every man, woman, or child with working eyes, he decided he had no choice but to take drastic measures by trading his eternal soul in exchange for 9 years of artistic success. Seems to me that the cons pretty solidly outweigh the pros in this scenario, but I guess that's just what happens when you neglect to consult an attorney before bartering with your soul. Either way, the devil must have agreed with the aforementioned men, women, and children, since after finalizing their agreement with a legally binding blood contract, Haizmann got right back to painting, only to find he was just as talentless as he had started. As the years waxed and waned, Haizmann's success remained stagnant, and he soon realized that Satan, the catalyst of primordial evil and silver-tongued temptress, might have lied. I know that sounds ridiculous, but this sneaking suspicion was all but confirmed when the Dark Lord began appearing to him in his dreams, taunting him with a bloodstained contract. Deciding he was just about done with these soul-stealing elder gods, he took his chances with the Catholic Church and underwent a lengthy exorcism, during which it's been reported the devil physically appeared to thwart the holy efforts of the God-fearing priests, and their only salvation was the Virgin Mary, who appeared from heaven taking the form of a winged dragon and saved the day by stealing the contract from the devil's grip and tearing it into 1,000,000 pieces. So yeah, that sounds awesome. Just getting to witness something like that makes the whole deal worth it, in my opinion. Who needs a soul when you gotta watch the Satan v Holy Dragon boss battle? And hey, in the end it even worked out for Haizmann, since by far his most famous works were inspired by this supposed event. Now, considering this, the more cynical among us might immediately assume Haizmann fabricated this whole wacky story for publicity, a tried and true tactic that countless artists have used throughout the ages. And it must be pretty effective, since people were still doing it back when you could be killed over an accusation like that. Such as Niccolo Paganini, a famous musician and child prodigy from the 1700s. He grew up with a strict stage mom of a mother who was willing to do absolutely anything to ensure her boy saw great success, up to and including selling the kid's soul to her old buddy Lucifer. But to her credit, it must have worked, since Niccolo quickly became one of the most famous violinists in his time. He would famously never use sheet music for his performances, having memorized all the songs in their entirety beforehand, and it was also said he could play up to 12 notes a second and would frequently cut a couple strings before playing just to prove he didn't need them to make beautiful music. He was tall and thin and pale and basically looked like a living skeleton, so rumors of this man spread like wildfire. Some said he had stolen the souls of countless women and stashed them in his instrument. Others claimed he could cut himself in half, creating 2 identical doppelgangers, one of which would play music and the other would walk around the audience just to ensure everyone was paying attention. But perhaps the most well-known rumor beyond the whole Antichrist thing was that his bones were made of rubber. Not sure why or how they'll make him better at playing the violin, but I guess Satan was just messing around at that point, who knows. Regardless, this kept very few people from going to his concerts. Oh, what's that? He turns into a horned beast and steals the souls of innocent women? Yeah, well, he also plays a mean Caprices 24, so I could care less. So far, we've seen painters and musicians, but what about authors? Well, for that, look no further than the Codex Gigas, literally meaning the big book, but colloquially known as the Devil's Bible, for reasons I'm sure you can deduce. This 165-pound manuscript contains not only the entire Christian Bible, along with several other religious texts, but a standard textbook on medieval medicine, an abridged history on Bohemia, a calendar, and 2 full-page illustrations. Considering a single page of this thing is 720 square inches, it must have been a monumental task, but according to legend, this entire book was written in a single day by a single man. That man was Herman the Recluse, a 13th century monk sentenced to be sealed away in a brick wall after breaking his monastic vows, but after deciding this fate was far too reclusive even for him, he made a proposition to the other monks. If he could produce a book containing all of humanity's knowledge in a single night, they'd have to let him go. Which is an offer we should really consider for the inmates of today. But we would have to ban the use of demonic blood pacts though, since that's exactly what our friend the Recluse turned to once he realized he was incapable of scribing all recorded human history in less than 24 hours. We all have our limits, my guy. It's fine. Regardless, one quick soul-selling session later, and the devil made quick work of the remaining pages, giving Herman the uncanny ability to write incredibly quickly. And as far as the legend itself, that's pretty much as far as it goes, but the most interesting details to me are the ones that actually kind of point to this whole story being true somehow. Research shows that producing this massive book should have taken well over 20 years of constant writing. And considering that most people were lucky to reach 30 in those days, you'd think that this project would have had to been passed down through the generations, but no. Studies on the handwriting have seemingly proved that the whole thing really was written by one person. Additionally, there's no visible sign of age in the handwriting. If it took decades to complete, you'd expect to see subtle changes in the penmanship as they grew older and the ceaseless writing took its toll on the author's hand. But there's no sign of any of that, almost as if it really were written in a single night. Pretty spooky, huh? Anyway, that's pretty much all I have for you guys today, but before I go, let's take a look at last week's Florshe finders. Rhino was the first to find any, Citrus was the first to find most, and the Sneezy Afton dude was the only one to find this guy right here. But the most honorable mention definitely has to go to Sabarks, who went back to the Island Monster video just so they could find what turned out to be the most well-hidden Florshe to date. Amazing job, my guy. These last few episodes have proven to be incredibly difficult overall, though, to the point of driving 404 Error into retirement. Don't worry, my guy, you'll get him next time. But if you spot any Florshes in this video, then let me know in the comments down below or on the Discord server, link in the description. And until next time, don't die. See you later.